It's like a lifelong journey, right? You don't want to be.
The colors, the spice, the food, the music, the people. I love everything about a Mexican-inspired feast, especially the food.
So I'm making flavor-packed mole chicken tacos with homemade tortillas. Then I'm chopping up some whitefish for a delicious summertime ceviche with charred habanero and peach hot sauce. Then I'm cracking open some delicious fresh oysters and baking them in the shell with charred tomato and chorizo butter. My fiesta begins with cola marinated Mexican spiced rubbed pork ribs.
Ribs are a pretty big deal when it comes to barbecue, especially around our households. My brother, my dad, myself, we're always kind of saying to each other, what kind of ribs you cook? What'd you put on them? What temperature? For how long? You get the money on me? So we're always kind of looking for new ways to cook ribs. So if you think of Texas-style ribs, those can take a long time, 8-9 hours on the barbecue, and that's great if you got all day. But if you want to cook ribs quickly, cut them up into individual. They're still delicious, and they take on a lot of flavor. So to get them ready for the barbecue, I peeled the membrane off the back. It just keeps the ribs nice and relaxed as they cook, and then cut them into individual pieces. Pretty simple. So the dry rub is a fiesta of flavors, but first I want to hit it with salt because just pork and salt is pretty delicious, and then I'm going to hit it with the fun stuff. First is chipotle powder, but be careful. Not too much chipotle powder because it is spicy. Even the dried version is even more spicy. And some ancho chili powder, that's good flavor. Chili powder, you can't leave that out. And a fiesta of dry spices. Garlic powder and oregano. So there's two types of oregano. You've got the Mediterranean oregano, which has minty undertones, but then you got Mexican oregano. It's more citrusy, and it even has undertones of licorice, so it's perfect for the ribs. Now rub it. It's called a rub, right? So one time my dad took our family on a trip to the States because he's from the States, and we went to this place on the American River, and it was a Tex-Mex restaurant, and they had these little dry ribs that were so good. Nice fatty rib, single cut like this, good nice warm spices, but there was something in them. And I remember saying, what's the secret to the ribs? And the waiter just looked at me and went, cola. I was like, oh my God, there's another little tidbit. So they put cola in it. So I'm just gonna give them a little bath in the cola. Spices are spicy, cola is sweet, makes for a pretty good rib. These ribs are gonna go on the barbecue, get a little bit of smoke, but they gotta chill out. The longer the better. A couple hours in the fridge are gonna be super tasty. Lots happened to these beautiful ribs, soaked in cola and all of those spices. So first up, a little squirt of oil, and I'm gonna hit them on the high heat to good char, and then move them over to indirect to let them kind of cook and fall off the bone. And then I'm gonna turn and glaze and turn and glaze. So you wanna hear a nice sear. Yeah. That is perfect. There's some sweetness in the cola and a lot of spices, so the caramelization happens pretty fast. So that on both sides, then move it to the indirect side of the barbecue, close the lid, let it work like an oven, cook it for about an hour till it starts to get nice, soft, and tender. Then I'm gonna glaze it, put it back on the char. These are gonna be delicious. So it's been about an hour and a half, and those look really good. Check this out, indirect side of the barbecue, but look at that. It's the spice mix, the sweetness from the cola, and just a little gentle cook. So I took the other half of that cola, reduced it down, and it's super thick. Check that out. I'm gonna glaze the ribs, give them one more char, Those are gonna be so tasty. One final char after the glaze, and then we get to eat. We're gonna need more napkins. Cut them up first, marinated them, and then grilled them. So they're like really finger looking good. Oh yeah.
Coming up, my insanely good charred chicken in a mole sauce, all done on the grill.
Guys, if you haven't tried the mole tacos, give them a bite. It might be my favorite bite. Now, mole is an amazing sauce, and a lot of it can be done on the grill, giving it some supercharged flavor. And mole is prized for its complexity, sweet, smoky, earthiness, and spiciness. And it all starts with some good veg on the grill to kickstart the flavor. So, good old-fashioned tomatoes, beefsteak, romas, whatever you got. And then big pieces. You don't need to cut them up. The sauce is blended. Bigger the pieces, the more surface area for char. And I'm gonna spice it up a couple different ways. Whole jalapenos, when these things get charred, they stay spicy, but they become warm and rounded. And then these are tomatillos. They're nightshades. They're hiding in here. It's kind of like a gooseberry, but when you open it up, this is used in Mexican cooking all over the place. These tomatillos are delicious. But again, if you give it a little char, they totally transform. And just to finish the grilled stuff, onion. I like a white Spanish onion. It's sweet when you eat it raw, but when you grill it, it's super delish. And then a shallot for a little extra sharpness. And you can't have chicken mole without chicken. You could use a breast, but I'm gonna use the thigh. Skin on, bone in. The thigh with the skin on is gonna get a lot of flavor. Bone in means it's gonna be extra delicious. And the seasonings are pretty simple. Chili powder, cumin, and a little bit of salt. Coat it all over, you want a lot of flavor. I forgot my favorite spice, smoked paprika. Paprika's been smoked. It says it all in the name, so it's perfect for a barbecue chicken mole. And when this chicken cooks on the grill, the skin gets really nice and crispy, and I'm gonna cook it until you can shred it. All right, just a little kiss of salt. Boom, that's ready for the barbecue. And for the veg, I keep the seasonings pretty simple while it chars. You wanna boost the flavor of all the veg, so just a little drizzle of oil and a nice pinch of salt. There's gonna be some spiciness in there, so I'm not gonna put any pepper. Look at all of those colors. Screams summer. All right, let's go get some char marks. All right, so the barbecue's on 2 different cooking zones. Kind of similar in heat though. Nice hot char for the veg and medium-high heat to get the skin on the chicken crispy. But they both have one thing in common. They're getting a flame kiss. That smell is so good. All right, barbecue's still hot, but not as hot for the char of the veg because the fat on the chicken kind of renders and then it spits up and you want to give it a little kiss of the flame. So skin side down and then don't touch it. Stop it and let some color develop. It smells so good. Vegetables really change on the barbecue. They go from, hey, how you doing, my tomato, to, oh my goodness, I'm a tomato. Lots has happened. Let's put the superhero cape on this mole. You can't have mole without some really good deep chili in there. So I'm gonna use ancho chilies. You can use it in the powdered form, but I like using the dried stuff. Soak it in some warm water, they become soft again. All you wanna do is take off the top and then if there's any excess water in it, pour that out, but you wanna keep the seeds. The seeds where all that warm spice is. Okay, so mole is super complex because it has nuts and dried fruit in it. I'm using peanuts and raisins give it that sweetness. When you're eating the mole, you're like, this is cool. It's charred, it's smoky, it's spicy, but also sweet. For extra heat, extra smokiness, my favorite might be the chipotle. This is a smoked jalapeno and adobo sauce. It's the best. It really is. It's smoky and it's hot. Lean into that heat. Mole's crazy complex because it has chocolate in it. This isn't any old chocolate. This is Mexican cooking chocolate. And if you smell it, it smells like cinnamon hearts. There's shots of cloves in there. It's crystallized on the bottom. It is so good, but it gives that mole that classic texture. So put a big chunk of the chocolate in there. If you don't have Mexican cooking chocolate, don't worry about it. Throw a Hershey bar in there. My dad would. Any kind of chocolate will do, so get that in the mole. And then last but not least, a little bit of garlic. And then add a few spices to my mole just to like bump up that craziness. Allspice. Cool, kind of mirrors the chocolate, little hits of clove in there, and then just for some warmth, earthiness, a little bit of cumin. And I know I season the veg, but I like to give it one more kiss of salt right at the end. Wow, and blend it. That's the mole. Oh, it smells so crazy from the chocolate. Look at that color. That is so amazing. Woohoo! That's the only reaction I got for that. It's so great. There's a touch of sweetness from the raisins in it. The chocolate gives it this kind of like warm, earthy, deep and dark feeling. It's really cool. All right, pull this into a pan. The chicken's got a good sear on it, but I'm gonna finish the chicken in this mole sauce, and as it cooks away, it's gonna be super tender. And then the mole acts as a marinade and a finishing sauce for the taco. So I'm thinking I made mole sauce from scratch. Why not make tortillas from scratch? What? I'm gonna do it, trust me. Let's get there together. They're super easy to do. You only need a few things to make fresh tortillas. One is corn flour. This is called masa, and this is what makes tortillas very authentic. And that corn smells exactly like a tortilla. So get that in there. So just the corn flour and water. Making the masa dough is all about feeling. So just get a little bit of water in there and start moving around with your hands. And you want to get a dough to form. So just a little bit of water and keep it going. Okay, this is how simple it is to make the dough. When it comes together, it looks like this. It's a perfect start. So what I like to do is just rip off a small little chunk and then roll it into a ball. But once you have a little ball, get a tortilla press. And here's a great tip. I cut a piece of plastic in 2 circles. You can put the dough right in the middle, put another plastic on top, close the lid, press it. And my friends, you have a fresh masa flour tortilla. That's how simple it is to make these things. And then on the grill, that slow cooked mole, it's so good. And then it's taco time. It's so rich. The whole sauce was done on the barbecue. Like the vegetables were all charred on the barbecue, but pretty energetic chicken.
Up next, it's my summertime ceviche with a grilled habanero and peach hot sauce.
This ceviche is as fresh as a summer breeze with charred avocado and habanero hot sauce. Pretty exciting bite of food. When it's hot out, I crave a refreshing snack. A bite of food that feels like summer. Something citrusy, light, full of flavor. When I think of that, I think of ceviche. It's just fun saying it, ceviche. And when it comes to fish, the world is your oyster, my dear friend. This is pickerel, it's a lake fish. Lakes are really cold at the bottom where these fish live, so it's nice and fatty. It's a white fish, it's firm, and it's perfect for ceviche. So ceviche, I like to put a little bit of veg into it. Find the sharpness of onion and cilantro works really well with that white, firm fish. It's a great start to any ceviche. So So when I go to the store and get my fish, it's usually got the skin on it, and I'll show you a quick way to get rid of the skin. So you wanna get your knife at the back of the tail, cut it in a little bit, and then just push down the skin, and that fish will jump right out of its skin, just like that. And you don't wanna have big pieces of ceviche. It's not cooked. Well, technically it is, but it's cooked by lime juice, so you want nice, tiny bites. The bigger the fish, the longer it's gonna take to cure. So I like doing little bite-sized pieces. So this is great. Nice, fresh fish, little bites, cured in citrus. Happy, happy. All right, this is the fun part. So when it comes to seasoning the fish and curing it, use lemon or lime. So you wanna get a lot of lime in there. You don't need any oil. Telling you, if you get the right balance of salt and lime, something really magical happens. So you wanna lean into both of those ingredients because that's all that's gonna flavor it, besides, tons of cilantro and onion. So a good amount of fresh lime and salt. You don't wanna be shy here. Lean into the salt. This is flaky salt. It's gonna give the fish a lot of seasoning, and it's gonna help cure it with the lime. That's all you need. Ceviche should be simple, but effective, and it is. It's 4 things: cilantro, onions, good fish, lime, salt, maybe 5, and then you have a beautiful, light, refreshing snack. And you'll see it change. It'll go from raw to like this opaque, soft, beautiful fish, and it just smells like summer. You might be thinking right now, hey, are you gonna grill that fish? I'm not, but there is a grilled element. And you know me, I always got a little trick up my sleeve. This is great. All right, so that ceviche is as cold and fresh as sliding into an avalanche with your mouth open. I'm gonna spice things up, and this is the trick I have. Habanero, which translation means hot. It doesn't, but it is pretty spicy. So I'm gonna make a habanero and peach hot sauce with some grilled avocado. All of that with the ceviche. Summer, fun, and a bite of food. All right, char it up. So nice high heat for the habaneros. You just want to char the outside, kind of soften it up a little bit, give it a little extra flavor. And high heat for the avocado, and I keep the skin on it, just holds it together, makes it really easy to grill. And same for the peaches, just some nice char marks. I can make the hot sauce, grilled avocado, perfect finish for the ceviche. So any good hot sauce for me is a balance of flavors. So you want it to be sweet, you want it to be tart, you want it to be salty, you want it to be spicy. Things that are hot are measured on something called the Scoville scale. So if you think of Tabasco, that's about 2,500 on the Scoville scale. And a habanero, that's about 350,000 Scoville units. So it's gonna be hot, so it needs to be balanced. A little bit of sweetness in the peaches, to counteract that, a little apple cider vinegar. You can use whatever vinegar that you wanted, but you need a hot sauce with that little kiss of vinegar, and then a little more sweetness, just a touch of sugar. And to swim through all the sweetness and a little savory note, some fresh garlic, and then to highlight everything, a little pinch of salt. And that's pretty simple to make a kicked up hot sauce for ceviche, and let it rip.
Keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on next. I'ma keep it going till there ain't nothing left. Going till there ain't nothing. Keep the flame on next.
350,000 on the Scoville scale. Yeah, that's pretty hot. It's gonna go pretty good with that cold ceviche. I think they're gonna love it.
Stay tuned, because I'm sharing some delicious secrets to baked oysters with charred tomato and chorizo butter.
One of my favorite things to eat is an oyster. Raw, baked, I love them all. These Tex-Mex broiled oysters with charred tomato and chorizo butter are gonna tick off all the boxes. Can it get any better? Not really.
Almost everything in this butter for the oysters gets kissed by fire. Grill the chorizo sausage for about 5 to 10 minutes or till it's cooked all the way through. The tomatoes and limes get a char in half the time, and the flames help sweeten them up and loosen up the juices. For the oysters, they need to be shucked. Simply put your oyster knife in the hinge of the oyster, loosen up the oyster on the bottom, and you're good to go. Get that butter going with some garlic, chili powder, lime juice, touch of parsley, and a healthy pinch of salt. Fold in the chorizo and the tomato, and then load it up with panko. Fill each with that delicious butter, and then top with a crumble of panko. It gets really nice and toasty on top, and the texture is great. Now, the trick to grilling an oyster on the barbecue is really simple. You want to put them cup side down, and in a matter of minutes, they're done and ready for the party.
Flame kissed barbecue broiled Tex-Mex style oysters with the grilled chorizo and tomato butter. It's gonna put a smile on the face of anyone who eats it, including this one. Chorizo butter? Yeah. I like the combination sometimes of meat and seafood. It's dynamite. Cheers. Whether it's humble spices in the Tex-Mex cooking or complex mole, the spices in fiesta-style food is delicious. Adopt that in your barbecue game and you'll be pretty happy with the stuff that comes off the grill. Happy grilling.